Today we're diving into an issue that we usually talk about with numbers, but it's really a story about the human mind. We're going to look at the psychology of poverty in Pakistan and what chronic deprivation actually means. So let's get right into it.
We have to start with this idea because it's so powerful. It just forces you to look past all the charts and graphs and ask a much deeper question. What does poverty actually feel like? It's not just a line on a spreadsheet, right? It's a human condition.
And while it's an ethical thing, the stats, well, they're absolutely staggering. In Pakistan, we're talking about nearly half the population living right on the edge of survival, and millions more are just one bit of bad luck, like a sudden illness or a drought, away from falling into that exact same place.
Okay, so we really need to go beyond the numbers. Let's start to unpack the hidden psychological toll that these statistics just can't show us.
Just think about how we talk about poverty. It's always about GDP, fiscal reforms, inflation, but all this economic jargon, it completely misses the most fundamental part of the story, the immense, crushing weight it puts on the human mind.
This is so crucial. We've basically been defining poverty all wrong. It's not just about having an empty wallet. It's about the slow erosion of your sense of self, your power to make your own choices, and your basic human dignity.
Okay, so next, let's actually look at how this kind of deprivation literally rewires a person's brain.
So, the single most damaging part of poverty is what psychologists call chronic uncertainty. Imagine a constant, low-grade hum of anxiety about the most basic things in life. It's a state of worry that never, ever switches off. And this isn't some abstract concept, It's a very real question that millions of people have to ask themselves every single morning. Just imagine waking up with that kind of weight on your shoulders, day in and day out.
This really gets to the idea of cognitive load. It's more than just stress. It's like trying to run dozens of really complex programs on your computer all at the same time. There's just no mental bandwidth left for anything else, especially not for things like planning for the future.
And this shows the cycle perfectly. That chronic uncertainty leads to constant stress. That stress then impairs your ability to think clearly, and that forces you into this short-term, survival-only mindset. Your brain literally gets rewired for survival, not for growth.
Now, this internal crisis has some really devastating external consequences. Let's take a look at the heavy toll of stigma and how society views and, treats the poor.
Society so often just labels the poor as lazy or irresponsible. But the most insidious part of this whole thing is when people start to believe it about themselves. They internalize that blame, and it leads to this crushing feeling of being inferior, like you don't even deserve a better life.
And for young people, this is just a particularly cruel trap. Society tells them, work hard, dream big. But their reality is a world with very few opportunities, which just creates this intense mix of shame and frustration. It's really no wonder so many feel like their only option is to leave.
This all creates a really powerful psychological state. It's called cognitive dissonance. On one hand, you're struggling just to survive, but on the other, you see this extreme, almost cartoonish wealth all around you. Fancy cars, massive homes. That mental conflict is just immense.
And all that conflict has to go somewhere, right? The psychological fallout is pretty predictable, but it's also tragic. Widespread anger, deep frustration, depression, and this gnawing sense of just hopelessness. But this isn't a story without hope. We can actually chart a new path forward. This next part is all about how we can design policies that don't just fight poverty, but actively work to restore dignity and hope.
The very first thing we have to accept is that our old tools just aren't cutting it anymore. Simply throwing money at the problem with traditional economic reforms, well, it can't heal the deep emotional wounds we've been talking about. This really calls for a complete shift in perspective. Instead of treating the poor like they're passive victims waiting for a handout, a dignity-centered approach sees them for what they are: active, resilient people surviving against unbelievable odds.
And this isn't just theory. Think about microcredit programs that empower women by actually trusting them to be decision makers. We're job initiatives that do more than just provide a paycheck. They give a young person a real sense of purpose. These are the kinds of policies that build confidence.
So, let's bring all of this together. It is absolutely time to redefine what the fight against poverty is truly about.
After everything we've seen, it's crystal clear that framing poverty in Pakistan as just a failure of economics is a profound mistake.
It is a crisis of the mind. It erodes hope.
It destroys trust, and it diminishes the very belief that a better future is even possible.
And what that means is that the solution has to be different too. The fight isn't just about putting more money in people's pockets. It is about restoring their dignity, rebuilding their confidence, and healing their minds.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought. If we truly want to end poverty, is the first step a new economic model, or is it a new sense of empathy? Do we need to first understand and truly care for the psychology of the poor?